Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to review velocity banking. So if you've never heard of velocity banking, have no idea what it is, go ahead and click the link to Velocity Banking 101. And then once reviewed, come back here to continue your studies. So in this video, we're going to talk about how a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, I just did a Google search on this. And one of the search entries that are standing out to me is about how about 50% of Americans earning $100,000 or more say they're struggling to make ends meet. And I think about 60% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. So based on, whatever source of information you're getting, it's at least 50% are living paycheck to paycheck. And one of the ways that I know that it's kind of a common problem is just because once upon a time, I used to live paycheck to paycheck, and I was struggling and crying for help, and nobody helped me. And the reason why nobody really helped me is because other people were broke, but at the same time, they wanted to seem like their life was in order. So they probably make fun of you to kind of deflect that they're broke too. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it certainly happened to me. And as you can see from these statistics, the majority of people are broke. In fact, shows like Dave Ramsey and Caleb Hammer's show wouldn't exist if the number of broke people or people living to paycheck weren't that many in our society. But that's why they have almost what seems like an infinite amount of callers who go, or interviewees who go into their shows, right? So given that most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and if you don't know what that means, it means when your paycheck is pretty much equal to expenses. And another way of saying it is if there's more month than check. I like that saying, more month than check. So when we're engaging in doing velocity banking, first thing you have to do, and I always say this in every single video, is that you have to write a budget. So you have your paycheck, your expenses, and then once you've written down your expenses, you have your expense breakdown. And what's really important, really have to emphasize this, is that every single debt that you have is its own line item. So this is line item is a debt, this line item is a debt. But other things like rent, food, other gas, that's not a debt, you could actually combine. But I separate it out because it looks a little bit cleaner, but every single debt must be its own line item. Now, how can we help the paycheck to paycheck people? We just need to tweak our behavior doing a couple of things. But let me tell you what the average American does. As Americans, and probably the rest of the world, we're trained to work out directly out of our checking account, right? So let's say I have a $3,000 paycheck, then I'm going to pay my student loan, I'm going to pay my car loan, I'm going to pay my rent, other things directly out of the checking account. Now, what if I need $1 extra? What's something that costs $1 these days? I had someone send me a picture of like a McChicken or something like that, and how it's like $3 or $4 because of inflation. I don't even know. Every time I go to the store, I'm like so surprised how expensive things are nowadays. But let's just pretend that a chocolate bar is an extra dollar, right? Now, in this situation, if we want a little bit more to stretch our budget for food, can we really do that? No, because what will happen is that we're going to be in a negative $1 cash flow scenario. So there's no way we can pay for this when we're living paycheck to paycheck. However, there's a magic way, as some people would call it, not me, but there's a magic way to essentially free up this money. Now, let me reemphasize again. If we're doing things by paying from out of our paycheck, what do people normally do? They put it on a credit card or a line of credit if they don't have the money, right? And so let me just say this. So instead of a chocolate bar, we're actually, and paying it directly, we're going to put this as a credit card. So now we have an extra $1 expense that we've charged to a credit card, right? And so this is going to be a $1 balance. Let's say we somehow, we had good credit and we're able to get a $25,000 limit on a line of credit or a credit card. Well, what happens here? Basically, I'm screwed if I'm doing it the average American way, right? Because if I don't have the money and I'm charging $1 to the credit card and I'm in the zero cash flow situation, I need to somehow either make an extra dollar. Maybe I'll work a little bit of overtime, but maybe let's say that for some reason you're unable to work that overtime to get that extra dollar, then you're screwed, right? So what's going to happen? You can't pay off this credit card by the next month, and you're probably going to go into collections for $1 and ruin your credit. For $1, right? Or you pay off the credit card and you can't pay the monthly payment. You're only paying $399. And what's going to happen with the loan? The loan payment for that month's not going to be satisfied, so that's going to ruin your credit too, especially if you're 90 days late, right? So if you go over $1 in this scenario of your budget and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're screwed. Now let's reset this, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to reset this, pretend that we didn't need that extra chocolate bar, and then we're going to do this the velocity banking way. So what's the velocity banking way? Well, first of all, and I didn't explicitly mention this. So after we get our budget, we need our line of credit. So it does require you to have decent credit and a big enough line to work with. And if you don't know what a line of credit is, maybe I'll make more videos explaining what a line of credit is. But basically, it's a financial tool where you borrow money, you can pay it back, and then you can borrow as much as you want as long as you have available credit. Again, kind of like a credit card. Well, a credit card is actually a line of credit. I got to stop saying kind of like a credit card because, again, it is a line of credit, right? Even though it's a little bit more nuanced between what a credit card and a personal or business line of credit is. But let's say I was able to get a line of credit. Now, how can I free myself from the constraints of living paycheck to paycheck? It's easy. I just do a simple debt transfer. So every debt that we have that we can move over to the line of credit is essentially freed up cash flow, right? And so if I move these two loans to here, I have freed up my cash flow. By how much? $1,000. So let's just do a simple debt transfer. 10,000, 13,000. I love this example. I just do it all the time. And I do it for you all because this is like doing my morning exercise and routine and exercising my brain so I never forget the stuff. So let's move these two debts over here, and then we essentially eliminate these debts, right? So what do? We freed up $1,000 in cash flow. So this will become zero. This will become zero. The rent is the same. All the other stuff stayed the same. And now we kind of generated $1,000 out of thin air. Whoa, magic, as some people would say. Okay, income is still the same. Now savings, we're not going to have savings because if you know the velocity banking way, and you watch the velocity banking 101, we know we really don't have savings in general. So I'm going to put this as zero. But we have cash flow. We have $1,000 in cash flow. And this cash flow is going to be used to bring down the balance of the line of credit. Now, to see what the balance approximately will be, all you have to do to see the next month's balance is just take the previous month's and then minus the cash flow, minus 1,000, right? So I'll just do a simple formula, H2 minus 100,000, and then I just kind of copy paste over and over again. And as you can see here, probably a little bit under 2 years. And let me just see how long it'll take. So about maybe 22 months, I'm able to pay this line of credit off. But here's the most important thing in this scenario. If you're an average American living paycheck to paycheck and you need an extra dollar in this situation for that candy bar, and you're paying everything from a checking account, you're screwed. But if you're doing it the other way, which is the velocity banking way, and you put your entire paycheck here, and you take out your expenses here, and you put your loans into the balance of the credit limit, you've essentially freed up $1,000 of cash flow. And starting from the first month, you're able to buy that candy bar. Now, I don't recommend it because candy's bad for you. I don't recommend it, but you can get it if you want. Now, here's the funny thing. People say, like, I've seen this on the internet, oh, if you're doing velocity banking, you have to be so much more disciplined than just like having savings. And I'm like, yeah, right. I just approximate most of my expenses, but I know, just like looking at the numbers, that if the trend is to go downward, then I know I'm good. But when you're working the average American way, where you're paying everything directly from your checking account, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're $1 off, you're screwed. You're screwed, right? Whereas if you're doing the velocity banking way and you know you have $1,000 of cash flow every single month, you can be $1 or $2 off and you'll be okay, right? So it's something I really want to emphasize. Okay, and think about this. Can this method of banking, where you work directly with your line of credit as your operating account rather than your checking account, can it help the average person who's living paycheck to paycheck, right? And it depends on your situation. Some people may not qualify for this line of credit, but other people, even if they're living paycheck to paycheck, may. So you have some high income earners who don't know how to manage their cash flow. This would definitely help them. Now, with the low income earners, they may have an income problem, and so they need to learn the skills of how to raise their income first, and then be able to gain the appropriate tool, the appropriate credit profile, so that the bank say, okay, I'm going to lend you X amount of money so that you can do whatever it is you need to do. All right. But ask yourself, do you think this would help the average person who's living paycheck to paycheck? Income in, expenses out, too much month, not enough check, right? All right, so this is Korean Atlanta mentorship. So if you're interested in learning more about velocity banking with us, or just want to talk to someone to help you with the numbers, go ahead and click the link to the Google form below, or you could send us an email by finding it out in the About section of our YouTube channel. So have a great day, and we will speak next time.